Children are being sent miles and miles and miles away into unregulated facilities and care homes and being abused. Children are not getting the mental health support that they so desperately need, and they are suffering. Children are not being listened to. Children deserve better. And if you agree with that statement, please press that like button and subscribe and hit that share button to raise awareness and circulate this. Children are being abused in care homes, and it needs to stop. It really, really needs to stop. And if you are new to me, I make videos about the mental health system and very similar things about 3 or 4 times a week. Briefly, for some context, I was put in a mental hospital at 12 years old and subjected to a hell of a lot of abuse for years. When I was released, I was given very little support. And it seems like nothing's changed. It seems like things are in fact getting worse. Today on Sky News, I watched something about a few children, 14, 15 years old, and they were bounced about different care facilities, and one of them kept running away from home for whatever reason, and she ended up getting raped, and she was then put in a secure unit, and she was treated like a criminal. There was a police investigation, and it was dropped due to lack of evidence, and she really was struggling and got mental issues now because of that. And she said, there wasn't really any support in these places. It's like a containment centre. And I use that a lot in when I talk about these things in my videos. Holding cell, torture chamber, and containment centre. And other people echo my words because it's damn true. There's not much compassion in these places for a care home. Why is that? Why is it getting worse? Well, mental health services in the UK have been cut and cut and cut and cut and cut until there's very, if anything, left. So that is the main reason why people are suffering, because there isn't any services. And also, as a part of that, as a part of the whole privatisation of the NHS, people are being punished. And I made separate videos on SIM, that Serenity Integrated Mentoring, that I was really heavily involved in campaigning against. People are still being demonised for suffering. For example, that woman that was running away from home, she ended up in a secure unit and she was treated like a criminal. There was another person that, kept, that person was being abused, and they were running away. They got involved in a couple of the wrong people. I think she was about 14, and she ended up in a young offenders institution and got sentences, and I understand that actions have consequences, but when there is absolutely zero support, that's what makes it so sad. People need early intervention. People need that mental health support. People need appropriate housing. And it is really a case of that these services want to wash the hands of people. It's a case of, it's not my job to do that, or it's that person you need to speak to, or, wait, I'm going to put you on to someone else on the phone. You can relate to that, right? That should not be the case with children. It shouldn't be the case with anybody. But we're talking about children here. We're talking about our future generation. Do we want to abuse them, or do we want to give them the best possible shot at life? How many baby P cases is it going to take for this government to wake up and say, shit, we need to actually invest money into social care? Instead of cutting it, we need to invest money into mental health. We need to invest money into homelessness, drug addictions, abuse. Instead of wiping it under the rug and having these private organisations and allowing abuse to go on. It's abhorrent. It breaks my heart every single time I read an article like that. There is no joined up thinking. My previous video, which I've put a link to in the description, was about why do people, sometimes deliberately do things to go to jail. Might seem odd to some people, but that happens a lot. And I can give you 4 reasons, just easily off the top of my head. One, because there isn't any mental health support out here, and people sometimes can't cope. Sometimes people can't, and so they go into jail, where there is minimal support. There is obviously hot food, there is a bed, there is showers, there is people there. Number two, they might not be able to afford to live out there because the cost of living's going up, wages are being frozen, and benefits are kind of going down. That's one reason. Number three, they might be being abused. They might be, you know, in a situation where they don't know how to get out of. So, and I knew a woman like this. She was in a domestic abusive relationship, and all that she could think of was, I'll have to get myself put in prison. That's where it's at right now. And the fourth reason is you actually track better in a prison sometimes than in a mental health facility. And I made other videos about that in more detail. So that's just a couple of reasons why people actually sometimes prefer going to prison. So how does that relate to children? Right. If they're seeing that they're getting more help in a prison system, that's going to be attractive to children. They're going to be like, oh, well, when I was in that young offenders institution, the equivalent of prison, I got counselling, or, I got someone to listen to me, or I got better food because my mum and dad couldn't afford food, or whatever. And that should never, ever be an option. It should be a case of, right, that person's struggling, we're going to try and put intervention in place. I mean, look, when I was 12 years old, I was diagnosed with autism, and I ended up, committing a crime, which I go into in my book. You can download a completely free chapter of me memoir about that, what happened to me. I was having abuse from a friend of the family, not anymore. So there was always reasons. I was treated like a criminal. The abuse was never really discussed, and I was abused by the people in there. So it's like, we need to create a safe environment for children. We also need to have a more open dialogue in classrooms, in communities about mental health, because it isn't hush hush. It isn't all woo woo. It's a case of, this is killing people. This is killing children. Children are committing suicide because they're being bullied at school. Children are coming home to nothing. There's a really good documentary that I know the person. Well, I know one of the people that got involved in making that video, and I've put the link in the description to that as well. Some children are not eating because the mum and dad are on either choosing between gas or electric and stuff. That happens. It isn't, oh, that's a really left wing ideation. No, it happens. I've seen it. I've seen it myself. I've seen friends, good friends of mine, that get universal credit payments, maybe get £20 a week for the week, or £17 for the week, or less than that. How are people supposed to live on that? What they're supposed to do, create their own farm and get solar panel to create every electric, and it's a piss take. Let's be real, it's a piss take. And that affects kids, because mummy and daddy can't afford presents. Mummy and daddy can't afford food. Mummy and daddy can't afford to go to the doctors, or can't afford to go and get that prescription or whatever. And children are suffering. Let's create a more equal, fairer society where children are not blamed for having autism, or blamed for having ADHD, or blamed for having a mental illness. Children are being turned away from mental health services because there isn't any. Again, link in the description. Look, everything I say, I always back up with a fact. So if you are new to me and I come out with a quote, or I come out with a percentage or anything, you can always look in the description. And I always, got a bit of a bibliography going on there. It's terrible. It really is. And like I said, I am passionate to the core I'm not monetized on this channel. I might never be. Hopefully I will if YouTube choose, you know. But I do this not for subscribers. It's nice to have subscribers, but I do it because I want to make a difference. I don't want children dying. I don't want children being abused. I don't want people abusing children getting away with it because they're being shrouded in secrecy by the legalities and by the red tape. It affected my life, it affected my whole family's life, the fact that I was wrongfully taken away and abused. I will never, ever forgive the NHS and the social care system and the prison system for what they did to me. And if I can inform somebody that this is going on, all the better. We need to listen to kids. We need to listen to kids. Let's make it better for kids. All right. Peace out. Just want to say, peace and love, love and light. Never give up the fight. Never give up. That's my little that's my jingle. Thank you for listening. This is a very important cause, and I'd really appreciate a subscribe and a share. And if you've got anything to say, feel free to put it in the comments. Thank you for listening. So, it's Michelle Therese.